Coming from Central Kentucky, land of horses, bourbon, and basketball, straight to your ears, ChickenCoopGuides.com presents AgriCast Digest, your place to get news and information about anything agriculturally related. Please welcome your host, Gabrielle Yoder.
So welcome to another episode of AgriCast Digest. I hope you're all doing well with the summer heat. I know it's been a while since I've done a normal broadcast too. We've had so many guest speakers recently that it's just time to let our hair down a little and talk turkey or chicken or duck, something like that. But then I read the news and my hair kind of crawls back up in a tight little bun again. However, I'll try not to horrify anyone today. In fact, some of the news stories are actually pretty funny. I'll give the worst ones first. It's kind of like pulling off a Band-Aid, okay? So antibiotic resistance, I know we've talked a lot about this in previous episodes, but it's back in the news again. It still kind of boggles my mind how doctors keep giving this stuff out like candy and battery farms keep dosing their livestock with it instead of actually taking proper care of their animal. It seems that there is a bacterium related to pneumonia that can cause bladder infections, and they're finding it on chickens and, poultry. I'll link to the article on the episode page if you'd really like to read it because it's kind of detailed, but I feel it's kind of more meat scaring that the media and the CDC likes to do. So you can kind of be your own judge, but I'll put the link on the episode page. Now, I kind of like this headline from Vox. Eating chicken is morally worse than killing Cecil the lion. For real? And if you read the article, I kind of get their point that the methods for raising and breeding chickens to be these giant birds and making them live the lives that they do on commercial farms is morally wrong. However, the whole tone of the article makes me laugh because they sound like that her name is Snow Lady and, I hope she's not on their staff, but it sounds like she wrote it, and that kind of gets my hackles up, and it makes me just want to make fun of them, which I'm trying not to do. So I'm kind of torn about it. I feel a little guilty, but only a little bit. Their solution to this is, of course, more government intervention instead of encouraging the market to correct the issue by boycotting producers who use inhumane methods, for example. No one needs more government regulation. We've got way too much as it is. But there's another link to that one as well. I will mention that there is an article I've linked to from the Albuquerque Journal that I feel strongly that urban and suburban chicken farmers should read, as it's kind of a cautionary tale about the deceptive practices of some city governments. This one seems to involve a lot of wordplay, and if you've got anything to add from your own experiences, definitely let us know by commenting on the episode page or dropping us an email. But it's about a Clovis chicken owner who continues to fight City Hall and how they're playing with her on this. So I'd really like for y'all to read that if it's relevant to you. In happier news, kind of tried to brush by the negative stuff really quick. I know there's enough of that in the news as it is. But for happier news, there's a group in Chicago that is teaching folks how to raise chickens in their backyards. They've got classes by Klein Creek Farms on how to educate would-be farmers on the ins and outs of chicken rearing in an urban environment. And I'd really love to see this happen in more cities. You can read the rest on the episode page. It should be the fourth link down. The last story is one of those where you have to ask yourself, did this happen in Florida or did it happen in Germany? Now, I'm a Florida girl myself, so I was able to peg this one correctly. This family in Lake Worth came home to find scattered chicken bones and beer bottles all over their kitchen floor, and some drunk dude was passed out on their couch. Now, I'm assuming it wasn't Santeria related, which fellow Floridians would probably know what I'm talking about. But I think it was just a homeless guy kind of wandered in with his bucket of chicken and his natty light to try to find somewhere to sleep. I feel kind of bad for the guy, but he had to know that somebody was going to have him arrested for it. I don't know what he could have said to make it better. But that was kind of a little funny haha story. Now I've got some Q&A here. It's been quite a while for Q&A, so I've been kind of saving this one. There was a few months ago, a guy named Ryan. He sent us a boatload of great questions, and I kind of put him off because I didn't know quite where to fit them in. But I'm going to go ahead and devote the entire rest of the program to just his questions, and I'm going to answer all of them today on the show. We've got a total of 6 questions, but I'm kind of gloss over some just because I think they'd take several shows to answer all of them properly. And if there's anything that really should be expounded upon more, I'll put some links up for y'all, okay? Now, he asked the first question, number 1, what are the best chickens for eggs? Now, there's definitely a reason why almost every flock has a Rhode Island Red, a Leghorn, or an Australorp, and that's because they're known as the egg-laying rock stars. There's other ones. Believe it or not, the sweet little Buff Orpingtons are only known as kind of like medium layers. But the Rhode Island Reds, the Leghorns, and the Australorps are the top 3 egg layers. Most of your show chickens, like Yokohamas or game hens, tend to be the ones that produce less. So the showier they are, sometimes the less that, they produce. His second question was common diseases and treatment. We've got a whole book and 2 blog posts about that, so I'm just going to link those on the episode page instead. His third question was the best food and quantity. Now, we've gone over this one in the past as well, but I'm going to rehash because it's kind of important. The best food for chickens is what they can naturally forage. This will link a bit of quality link a bit into quality as well here, or quantity. The recommendation is 1/4 to 1/2 acre per bird of land per bird for free foraging with no supplemental food. So for newbies, food is supplemental if you have enough land and foraging materials, obviously like bugs, worms, and green plants for them to eat. For the backyarder or the farmer that doesn't or can't let his flock forage, it takes some adjustment on your part to determine the quantity depending on the weather, how much water they have, whether or not they're ill, what breed they are, if they're brooding, if they're a layer, a pullet, etc. The age and amount of free forage and green material available also determines what you feed them. So the age determines the protein percentage required, and the best feed is usually the feed you make yourself that is free of corn, soy, and contaminants. Now, I really got an eye-opener about the fungus, molds, and yeast contamination when Doug Kaufman came on a few weeks ago, and he discussed the problem one of our listeners had with her rooster dying of a toxin from their commercial feed. So any grain you give needs to be checked first and then supplement with antifungal and anti-yeast agents that you can powder over their feed. I think one of them was clove powder. Really simple stuff, not complicated. For more solutions about that, I would check out the second half of the Doug Kaufman podcast for that information, which was all Q&A, as well as our article about making your own chicken feed, since there's so much more information out there than I could fit into the show today. I'll put a link on the page for that for y'all as well. Number 4 was the best ways to discourage foxes. Now, there isn't really one best way to do this. It's usually dependent on your coop type and your environment. Double digging your perimeter fencing and making the fence like 6 to 8 feet tall will help in almost every case for sure, even though foxes can and will eventually get around all of that unless you have your cluckers locked up in like a concrete box somewhere. One of the things I hate most about foxes is the cruelty. They can go into this massive frenzy if there's a lot of birds and they just kill everything they can catch and they don't even eat them. They're just mean to be mean. So, or they get blood frenzied, whatever. They're Viking foxes. So double dig down your fence, a couple of feet at least. Try running some electric wire around the perimeter. That kind of helps. Also, try sloping the top of the fence out and away from the coops. It'll be more difficult for them to kind of climb up and get inside and over the top. Now, believe it or not, llamas are also known to chase off foxes and protect your flock, which is pretty darn cool if you have the room for llamas. So if you've got foragers or if you pasture your hens, then add a few llamas to your property as well, and they can help with the foxes. Usually those, they are the healthiest birds, but they're also the most vulnerable to predators. So llamas can help. If nothing else fails, you could always have a foxicue, but I ain't eating that. I don't know anyone who would. Now, he wanted some good cooking tips, good cooking with eggs tips. I can tell you that if the outside of your hard-boiled yolk is gray and you've cooked it for too long, that's one tip. For perfect fried or over easy eggs, you really need a lot of butter in that pan. My husband loves for me to fry eggs in butter. He showed me how to kind of do it. He's like the master egg fryer. And then we use the rest of the fat in the pan to cook shredded potatoes into hash browns, or he'll take a piece of bread when we eat bread that day. He'll take a piece of bread and fry it in the butter that's left over and make nummy, naughty fry bread. But how about some recipes instead of tips? I can do that part pretty easy. So just check out the episode page and I'll have listed a few of our favorites. And Number 6, which was the last question, was why do eggshell colors differ? This was a kind of cool question. I did some research on this. It's actually purely due to genetics. As for why, you'll kind of have to ask God, because I don't have anything to do with it, and I don't think scientists really put too much thought into that one. I don't know what I'm saying. Scientists study everything 6 ways from Sunday. I do know that the pigments are deposited on the shell in the oviduct, and what color that is determined by the breed. I've got another link on the episode page. It'll give you more information if you're into genetics and how all that works. It's actually kind of a cool link. I looked for one kind of a how-to. They even describe the process of how to get olive-colored eggs, for example, if that's what you're looking for. So it'll show how to crossbreed different egg layers to get different colored eggs. But this is just a little happy, fun podcast today, answering some questions, checking with all y'all, seeing how you're doing. And I'm going to close for now. I hope that everyone has a really great week. Please don't forget to send us those questions. We've had our questions kind of dropping off a little bit. We're working hard every day to find new content and new material just for y'all. And next week, we have another guest interview, and it's a pretty special opportunity for our listeners. And that's pretty much all I'm going to say. But if you're looking for ways to make extra income, definitely keep your ears peeled for next week's episode. Until then, I'll say good night and God bless.
You've been listening to AgriCast Digest. If you like what you just heard, please share with your friends. And don't forget to go to ChickenCoopGuides.com/podcast to download transcripts and archives of this episode, as well as take advantage of any freebies or trials offered in this episode. You can then visit our private podcast Facebook page, also linked there. This has been a Bluebird Media production.